Our next performer is a 7th grade newcomer, Jessica Bowlds. Jessica participated in broadcasting throughout the year, and right before regionals, picked up a Prose event, where she went on to qualify both at the KHSSL State Tournament regionals. She is an excellent student and has the right fit for the forensics family. Here's Jessica with the Witches Broom.
For years now, we have heard the stories of fairy tales and their wonderful overtones of happy ever after. But what we never hear about are the side stories with little to no more value. This is one of those stories, The Witches Broom by A.J. Jacobs. Once upon a time, there was a witch named Griselda who chalked up a very enviable record when it came to witchery. If you don't believe me, just look at her resume. Sleeping Beauty cast a highly effective spell upon a young female, putting her in a state of slumber for several decades. The Frog Prince, turned member of the royal family into an amphibian, received wide publicity. Hansel and Gretel successfully enticed two young siblings to a house in the forest using sweet food as bait. Naturally, when it came time to give out the award for the best witch of the year, Griselda won. At her acceptance speech to the Academy of Witches, she moved almost everyone to tears. I'd like to thank all the little people who made this possible, like that guy that I shrank to 14 inches after he said something about the wart on my nose. And I'd especially like to thank my assistant, also a little person, the gnome named Terry. I shall treasure this gold-plated skull for the rest of my natural life. Well, sir, after that, Griselda stock soared high, and as far as she was concerned, every night was like Halloween. One day, a typical day, Harry and Griselda were busy in her cobweb house, hashing out her schedule. Okay, Harry said, glancing at his clipboard. Tomorrow you're going to fly to London to judge up the year of the plague, and then you've got a banquet for the Society for the Humane Treatment of Trolls. Cancel that till Monday. You see, tomorrow I've got to lock this lady, Rapunzel, in a tower, and then I've got to run over to the... Suddenly, the door to the witch's little house creaked open. And there stood the most handsome prince in the world. Ah, fair lady, said the prince to Griselda, could I trouble you for a flagon of water? Such a request wasn't exactly the wisest thing the prince had ever done. In fact, it was tantamount to committing Harry. Instead of water, try a sip of this. Griselda handed him a hissing, steaming cup of newt sneeze, backstripe, and other ingredients that would probably not pass FDA inspection, but would turn the prince into a tree stump. Still, witches do have hearts, and at the very last second, before the concoction had touched the prince's lips, Griselda was struck by Cupid's arrow. Don't drink that! She shouted and knocked it to the floor. The liquid burned a hole 3 feet deep. My word, said the prince. It must have been carbonated. With that, he made a courtly bow and excused himself to the well outside to quench his thirst. Griselda stared wistfully out the window. For the next few days, she just couldn't concentrate on her witchery. She sent Snow White poisoned kumquat instead of a poisoned apple. She turned bats into bunny rabbits. She tried to put people to sleep, but it just made them tired and cranky. Finally, she admitted to herself that she was in love, but because she was ugly, even by the witcherly standards, she knew she could never win the prince. And so she went to the magic mirror, which only charged $100 for 50 minutes, and asked for advice. Mirror, mirror on the wall, and don't you dare crack on me. How can I win the prince's love? Why don't you cast a spell on yourself? I'm afraid our time's up. I must go before I crack up myself. Of course, the mirror was right. If Griselda changed herself into a beautiful princess, the prince would fall in love with her. For 2 weeks, she worked on the project, stirring a cauldron full of wolfbane, mice wings, and artificial flavors and colors. Finally, it came time for the age-old incantation. Over the cheek that through the gums, look out, stomach, here it comes! She drank it and poof! Where the witch once stood, there was an enchanting princess. The next day, the newly beautiful witch went to the royal ball. When she got there, the prince and the king were in the corner, talking.
Well, my son, how are you enjoying the ball?
Asked the king. Oh, I'm having a ball, Dad.
I know that. But how are you enjoying it?
But before the prince could answer, he spotted the most beautiful maiden he had ever seen. You're beautiful, you're lovely, you're engaged to me. Am I rushing things? Griselda shook her head. A whirlwind romance ensued. They went to the opera, to the ballet, to beheadings. But there was one little problem. They were never alone. For wherever they went, along came a broom. The broom that Griselda used to ride on her nightly forays. It would ride in the carriage with them, to exhibit shows. There was just no escaping her past. The prince began to get a bit suspicious. Now, I have nothing against cleaning instruments in general, he said. I just want to be alone with you. Desperate, Griselda decided to shell out another $100 and go to her old mirror on the wall. Ah, well, it's all psychological, my dear. You see that broom over there? It has a sort of dust complex. Now that you're a princess, it's lonely. It misses its former owner, and it no doubt still thinks you're a witch. Well, what can I do? The answer is simple. Get a grad. Now, in medieval English, which is what the mirror is speaking, the word gride meant dustpan. So the witch immediately purchased a small, but-attractive dustpan and set it beside the lonesome broom in the broom closet. The rest happened naturally. In the end, when the prince and the princess got married, they had a double wedding with the happy cleaning instrument couple. So, as you can see, not only was there a bride and a groom, but there was also a gride and a broom.